And ladies and gentlemen, if you are not already following Khasino on Twitch TV, what are you doing with your life, mate? He's got some proper right Strike Force content.
Embrace the spaghetti.
What's up, guys? With the addition of Mordo to the roster, I just wanted to put out a video talking about him, so let's get into it. First and foremost, big shout out to Shinnyshin, who some of you may know from the tier list streams. He joined me the other night to help break down the character, and I feel like we really got a strong grasp on the character. So I do want to preface this character spotlight with a quick explanation for our general mindset on this one. So Mordo is an incredibly variable character. By this I mean there is a lot of unpredictability in his kit. Both myself and Shinny feel that this really hurts his overall value. You will hear other reviews talking about the really impactful things that Mordo can do, and they're not wrong. Mordo can be hugely impactful in any given match. However, he can also be incredibly unimpactful. He's best described as being high risk, decent reward. The big thing is that there are not a lot of circumstances where you want high risk. A bad gamble in tier 8 of Blitz could drop you back to tier 7. A bad gamble in Arena could cost you one of your 5 daily matches, etc., etc. So please keep in mind that our evaluation of Mordo is largely based on what he will typically deliver. First things first, let's take a look at his stats and abilities. We're going to look at his stats at max gear, star, and level, which is gear tier 11, 7 star, and level 60. So his max HP at 55,376 is fairly average. His armor at 2,492 is also quite average. I wouldn't call Mordo tanky by any means, but he is a bit more robust than other controllers. He's exactly as durable as Hand Sorceress, if that helps give you some perspective. His focus is only 1,243, which is really low. There are characters with lower focus in the game, but Mordo easily has the lowest focus of any controller, which really hurts his kit, as it is almost exclusively reliant on applying debuffs. This will mean that Mordo will have to be very high star level just to have an average chance of applying his debuffs. His damage is 4,954, which is definitely on the low end. Combine his low damage with the low multiplier on his basic attack, and he really under-delivers off of his base stats alone. The only other stat worth mentioning here is his speed, which is 113. His speed is certainly above average, but it's not enough to compensate for his otherwise underwhelming stats. So to give some perspective on that, he's exactly as fast as Electro. So let's talk about his tags. He's considered Villain, Cosmic, Mystic, Controller, and Martial Artist. The big two here are Cosmic and Mystic. In both Cosmic and Mystic, you have much better Controller and support options, but he is definitely more viable. Assuming the Mystic campaign has a majority of Mystic enemies, this really plays into Mordo's passive and would greatly aid his survivability. However, added survivability on an underwhelming kit is only a marginal benefit. Ronin is a perfect example of a character with well above average survivability that still falls short because he doesn't accomplish as much with his time on the field. On to his skill set. His passive ability is Too Many Sorcerers. On death of any character, heal self for 10% of this character's max health. On death of a Mystic, heal self for 15% of this character's max health and gain ability energy. So his passive isn't terrible. It gives him a fair amount of survivability, especially against teams with summoners. The ability energy gain on Mystic Death is nice as well. Unfortunately, the abilities that he can use more often with the extra energy aren't often super impactful. His basic ability is Arcane Scourge. Attack primary target for 190% damage and apply 1 to 2 random negative effects. So this basic attack is very inconsistent. The damage on it is unquestionably low, so the major factor is how effective those debuffs are. So if you didn't know, characters that have abilities like this, which will apply, quote, random negative effects, don't actually choose from all negative effects. Mordo will only ever apply slow, offense down, or defense down. This basic ability would be much better if it had the chance to apply bleed, ability block, stun, blind, etc. So applying a defense down can be huge if it lands at the right moment, but the fact that you will typically only apply one negative effect, especially since you have no control over which one it is, can really be a hindrance. You might end up slowing a taunting tank and making matters worse. Combine this with the fact that Mordo has below average focus, and you're left with a low damage basic attack that is fairly unreliable all around. His special ability is Mesmerize. 50% chance to apply stun to primary target. If target is not stunned, apply blind to the target, and 50% chance to apply blind to 3 additional targets, and 50% chance to apply slow to 2 targets. So right away, the ability suffers from doing 0 damage. Now, the utility that this ability offers has to offset the lack of damage by being highly impactful. 50% chance to stun is good, but 50% chance to not stun is pretty bad, because you can't count on it. So, for example, if you're attempting to stun a Captain America before he gets his taunt and his defense off, if you fail that stun, your consolation prize is a blind, which is virtually pointless. That is, if Mordo's focus is high enough to blind in the first place. The 50% chance to blind 3 additional targets is nice, as is the 50% chance to slow 2 targets, but this ability really highlights the theme and major issue with Mordo's kit: unreliability. You have to get through 3 layers of RNG for this ability to pay off. So first, you have to win the 50% chance coin flip built into the ability. Then you need the effects to land on the right targets. Blinding someone who's about to use a buff or a summon ability, for example, is pointless. Then, if you're fortunate enough to win the ability coin flip and win the target selection lottery, you still need to hope that Mordo's low focus wins out against the enemy resistance to apply the effects in the first place. So this ability can be a game changer, but it will just as often be a mostly wasted turn. That said, this ability would be a strong counter to characters like Vision and Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is faster and Vision is the same speed, so off the top of my head, this ability only reliably counters Winter Soldier. And this brings us to his ultimate, Demons of Danak. Attack all targets for 210% damage and apply heal block for 2 turns, and this attack cannot miss. So the damage percentage on this ability isn't bad, but when combined with Mordo's low base damage, it makes for a perfectly average amount of damage. The fact that it will hit everyone and will ignore blind is a nice touch. The issue here, again, is the utility. Heal block is a fairly irrelevant debuff in majority of the content in the game. The current meta largely excludes healers, as damage threats are a much higher priority, so this heal block really only shines when you're facing a healer-heavy team. So that's his kit. I just want to briefly discuss why he was placed where he was for the various game modes. So, for campaign and raid, he's ranked as usable. Again, low damage, unreliable utility, and a niche focus on hard countering healers puts Mordo in very low demand. Time will tell if his value here will increase with the addition of the Mystic campaign. For arena offense and blitz, he's also ranked as usable. Again, his low damage, unreliable utility, and a niche focus on hard countering healers is in low demand. Mordo can be the reason for you to win a high tier blitz match, but the fact that he can just as likely be the reason for a crippling loss means you ultimately want to steer clear. And lastly, arena defense and AI. Now, while we still only consider him usable here, he's definitely at his best in defense. An enemy Mordo in raid will definitely cause some issues by inhibiting healing, though it's the only game mode where you'll regularly include a healer. He's less impactful in arena defense, but he does have the ability to significantly hinder an attacking team some of the time. Since the general result in arena defense is a loss anyway, Mordo gains some value there because he has the potential to swing a fight for your team. So, if anything, he's upper usable for arena defense and AI. All in all, Mordo ranks generally usable because he's horrendously unreliable. Even at his best, he's largely utility with a focus on hard countering team comps that are already fairly simple to play around. Alright, so that wraps up the Mordo character spotlight. If you're new to the channel, I should mention that you can swing by my stream every single day at 1 p.m. Pacific. That's at twitch.tv/Khasino, and you can come check out Mordo gameplay as he features regularly in the raid matches. Otherwise, thank you guys again so much for all the support. Peace!